We're here today with Jeff Pryor with First Priority Home Inspections. He's doing the inspections for some clients looking to purchase their first home. Kind of an exciting day. Jeff, what are you here to do today?
I'm here to look at the house, the structure, the roof, all the visible components of the house, pretty much within the scope of my inspection. Usually takes me a couple hours to do my thing. Usually start on the roof, do the exterior, all the landscape is included, and then work my way from the basement up, looking at plumbing, electric, heating, cooling, windows, door operation, all the appliances, answer any questions that the clients might have, and write it all up for them, and both present the deficiencies and the positive things dealing with the house.
And you're not really here to pass or fail the house. You're just here to report to the buyers what they're looking at. Is that correct?
Exactly. Both good and bad. Things that I see, hopefully give them some insight into costs of repair, projections into the future. Anything that would be towards the end of its life expectancy would be included.
So how's the sump pump working?
Appears to be good. There's water in the crack itself, which is very normal. These are normal cracks coming off the side here. It doesn't appear to be a wet basement at all. The only thing I'm really seeing here is the mildew on the front walls. So,
well, I get there's a misconception out there that every house has to have a sub pump. And correct me if I'm wrong, what you need is a footing tile to drain water from the basement. There are certain homes where the grade falls off so that the footing tile can actually drain away from the house by natural gravity. The sub pump's only needed if it's pumping, you need to pump water up to the surface. Is that not correct?
Yes. In fact, you really need to, it's just the crack. Yeah, the pump is elective, but depending on where you are and how often you need to actually use it, how wet the area is around. Pump is mostly necessary around here, but how often it works, it varies from
this particular home has a tankless water heater. Jeff, could you explain what a tankless water heater does and how it's different from a standard water heater that we would see today?
Well, there's coils in here that are constantly heated and circulated throughout the house, so it's pretty much on demand. It's very quick to recover, so you have a constant source of hot water. For example, this is 199,000 BTUs, which is huge. For such a small unit, this is what it will send water, good for a family of 4 to 6 people. So it's a nice, they're just they're expensive right now, expensive to put in, they're expensive to purchase. I'm sure over time that'll change. That's why you see more conventional style.
Now, one of the components of the home inspection is to look at the furnace itself, look for cracks in the heat exchanger, make sure the operation is working correctly. And you were saying something about this being a closed unit?
Yes, as you can see here, this is a 90% efficient furnace. The heat exchanger is located up in this area of the furnace. There's just a very small viewing hole, so in a typical furnace you'd be able to look up into the heat exchanger, which then you'd be looking for holes and cracks. This is very difficult, so how I would check something like this is with a gas meter to check for carbon monoxide leakage, which I'll do at a later time here in the inspection. But that's about the only way you can really check these without tearing them apart. And as an inspector, we're not allowed to really take things apart.
Poured wall here. Can you explain what's going on with this crack?
Well, this looks to me like it was an epoxy patch at some point in time. Honestly, cracks do appear in poured wall quite often. 99% of the time, I would say 95% of the time, they're what we call shrinkage cracks. They basically, as concrete cures, it wants to pull away from itself. It has very poor tensile strength. And that's why you see cracks in sidewalks and floors in basements. And this typically wouldn't be a problem to me, but it looks like it was a problem in that I do see some water staining around the crack. I'm not sure if that's a stain or not, but I definitely see some staining around here at the base of the crack, which then I would definitely prompt the either the seller or the purchaser to get that sealed.
Like they've done already.
So that's what you're seeing here. It's just a filler to actually seal this crack. And again, if it was just a normal crack without any stains around it, I probably wouldn't. I'd probably recommend just monitoring it. So they kind of did the little, like the overkill thing on this makeup air component, because really you're dragging in outside air anyway by the virtue of the exhaust and return.
Are those PVC pipes always a good way to note a 90+ efficient furnace?
Yes, they are. Another good way is to look at the 90% sticker on it.
I guess that one
You
can't
don't
be.
have one here, but no, that's pretty much what the most of
Oh,
them
right
they have.
there, 96.6. This is 92.
And that's usually a really good indicator. Yeah, it's just you're extracting again so much heat out of the fuel that again back in the day this used to be in a metal vent pipe, and you used to get the gases burning all the way up, so you'd end up getting temperatures of 300 degrees plus, but that was all wasted fuel. You're burning fuel and you're throwing it into the air.
If this is a summary session at the end, and you are putting all your notes down, is that correct?
That's correct, and what I'll do is end up bringing both positive and negative, if any. Luckily we found a really good house here, so not too much writing going on, but this is at a point where I would bring deficiencies up to the front of the report, and it can get into pages and pages sometimes, and we always hope for houses like this.
Now we're actually at the very end of the inspection, and Mr. Pryor is going to give the information and the findings that he did to the buyer, Lanny, and we'll watch them go through this.
Overall, the house is in great condition, for its age. I did mention a few items here. Item number 1, a little bit of mildew present at the front basement wall base. I mentioned cleaning the mildew from the wall, and I'd be running a dehumidifier in the basement in the warmer months. Number 2, we had talked about raising the house perimeter grade for positive water flow. Ideally, the soil should drop 6 inches out 6 feet from the house. That's 1 inch per foot away from the house. Mentioned that the basement sink lift pump is not operating. A couple cracked and settled sidewalk pads, mostly north and west at the rear of the building. Level the rear deck steps. Clean and stain the rear deck. Mentioned pruning the spruce tree off the southeast roof line. And then there's a small, some minor settlement at the front sidewalk with the trip edge starting to occur out there, so mentioned leveling that. So really small list for this age of house. I do have a 3-year projection that I estimate costs and anything that might come due within the next 3 years. There's really nothing. And then a couple recommendations. I always recommend servicing the furnace and air conditioner annually. Changing the furnace filter every 90 days, and again I would run a dehumidifier in the basement during the warmer months.